What damage has been caused by release of secret material by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden?
I think I can probably sum it up in one word, and that is embarrassment. Obviously, one has to go beyond that, but let me explain what I mean by that. There's been embarrassment by the White House administration because of international leaders suddenly becoming aware that they have been surveilled for some years. There's embarrassment within the intelligence community because suddenly someone has pulled back the curtains and there they are exposed to the world. But it is much more serious than that, because what Edward Snowden has done is reveal the methodology, the various ways that the American government, specifically the National Security Agency, have been operating. And as an Englishman, it's embarrassing for me as well, because while the focus has been on the National Security Agency, their colleagues, the Government Communications Headquarters, known as GCHQ in the United Kingdom, have been working hand in glove. It's almost as though there was an umbilical cord joining the British and the Americans. And the approach has been virtually the same. So as I say, it has been embarrassment, but also putting at risk national security by exposing to those who might have hostile intent as to how we operate. And I include in that, very importantly, terrorists, money launderers. In fact, the bad guys now are much more careful, especially when it comes to using their cell phones or using the internet.
What damage has been caused by the earlier release of classified documents in the so-called WikiLeaks?
WikiLeaks is somewhat different from the Snowden revelations. First of all, they came largely as a result of this young Army Manning, and what he did was reveal, because he had top secret access, reveal the cables from the State Department. And these, again, I have to use the same word, it was embarrassment that was caused, because what he revealed in that huge tranche to WikiLeaks, and Julian Assange was able to pick up on this. Bradley Manning, in revealing the cables themselves, these were diplomatic cables. These were the ones that came from the embassies around the world, and the ambassador, thinking that no one but his own people were going to read these, was sometimes quite cutting and very honest in their appraisal. Let's say they had gone into a meeting, let's say in Belgrade, for example, and listening to the back chat, maybe that ambassador meets one of the ministers from the government who, in an unguarded moment, says, well, my colleague, he pretends to be friendly to you, but he is not. He is so-and-so, and quite frankly, I don't think he will last long. He has a drink problem or something like that. This, the minister says to the American ambassador in confidence. The American ambassador sent this information back with a few comments of his own. No problem done until the whole world sees it. And this minister who had been criticized is suddenly now, let's say, and of course I don't mean this one, is then the prime minister of the country. Huge, huge embarrassment. But beyond that, it also meant that some of the sources for the Americans suddenly, once it was revealed that their information had been open to the world, stopped giving that information. So that really closed down a lot of the sources that we had. Very recently, I had a meeting with a recently returned British ambassador, I won't identify him, from a particular country. And I was saying, how are things now in your reporting? And he said, well, even though our cables are still encrypted and therefore it will be difficult to get hold of. If the decrypted version was opened up, huge embarrassment. So what this now means, I'm very, very careful in what I write. Now, of course, we want the man to be careful, but we also find it useful sometimes to know what the scuttlebutt is, what the gossip is behind, and that is being closed down. And in that, WikiLeaks was very embarrassing. Something approaching 300,000 cables were revealed from different US missions around the world.
Could you summarize for us the differences between the WikiLeaks and the Snowden security breach cases?
That, if you don't mind me saying so, is a very good question, because the media at the moment have brought these WikiLeaks and the Edward Snowden revelations together. They are really quite different. As I said, the WikiLeaks revelations dealt specifically with the State Department. The American intelligence community, there was a touch of schadenfreude because the State Department and the intelligence services don't always see eye to eye. And very little was revealed in WikiLeaks of intelligence sources or intelligence information. The Snowden revelations and the material that he has brought into the public gaze is much more damaging, much more worrying. And we have to say that we don't know exactly how many 100,000 documents he's brought out, less than 5% have been revealed to the world. And it's a slowly drip technique. We have Der Spiegel in Germany revealing it, we have The Guardian in the United Kingdom, and we have the Washington Post here in the United States. And what it has described the methodology of how this surveillance has gone on. That how has it been possible to listen in to the conversations of Angela Merkel or François Hollande or the British, of course, aren't involved because we, with the Americans, have been doing this. Why has it been announced, for example, that Sweden has been helping surveil the Russian Federation internet traffic that comes through the cable that goes through the Baltic? And these revelations, programs like PRISM, and in recent days, the shocking revelation as far as the general public is concerned, that 5 billion cell phone messages are being taken down every day. So as far as the general public are concerned, they're shocked when they realize that 5 billion cell phone messages are being hoovered up every day. And that's not a pun on Edgar Hoover, but sucked up every day. What is not generally understood, and that's not helped by the media, is that this information, it's metadata. It is not the call itself. It is just the fact that this call originated here and went to that cell phone there. And using the same technology that you can have the navigator sat navigate to in your car, it can position exactly what cell unit that telephone is linked to. The value of that is that if there is a known suspect, that person is being surveilled correctly. The National Security Agency, FBI, or whoever have obtained a warrant from a judge under the FISA regulations. And we then want to know who he is in contact with. If, for example, I'm in contact with that fellow, even though I'm not a suspect, I become a known contact. And therefore, it has enabled us to track, in many instances, there have been many examples of potential terrorist attacks being stopped as a result of this surveillance. Just think for one moment, if you look at your email box, if you had 200 messages, it would take you nearly all day to go through all of these. So if you had 5 billion, of course you couldn't do that. The majority, 98%, maybe even 99%, just go into storage. 1% are of interest, and that 1% you might very well start picking up future calls. As I say, the call originally, it was only the fact it was made from one call to another call, not the content. But after that, we are able to track people, and as I say, we have been able to prevent those contacts. So to reveal this is causing huge damage.
How could such security breaches be prevented in the future?
Well, that, as I say, is a $64,000 question, because everyone is asking that. First and foremost, there's a need for better oversight. The very fact that there was a case in the United States following 9/11, Robert Hansen, an FBI, very senior FBI officer, who revealed to the Russian Federation masses of information from FBI. The reason being, he had access to so many computer systems, and no one was watching him. With Edward Snowden, who went from the NSA to then be a contractor, he was in the position of talking with his colleagues. He was like a webmaster. He gained access to their systems, even to their passwords, by saying, well, this is my role. He should have been under some kind of surveillance, some kind of oversight within that. That, of course, is needed, and this will start happening, but it will be the stable door closing after that. I think the other thing is that there is a danger, as seen in the American media and general opinion at the moment, to try and restrict what is being done. James Clapper, the DNI, the head of national intelligence, has been put on the stand at the moment and asked, what are you doing? And there are moves to prevent it. This would be terrible. I think that what is needed is greater openness, a greater explanation by the National Security Agency, by the National Intelligence Director, and indeed by the White House itself, to explain, as I have, that it is not a threat to the American populace itself. And that civil liberties, I always say to someone, if your civil liberty is absolutely protected, but on the next marathon your son is killed by a terrorist bomb, what matters more to you, your civil liberties or the result of that terrorist attack?